Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hey, welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a good show for you tonight. Over in the wings, we're happy to welcome back Mr. John Cornett. Hey, John. John's going to be playing music and co-hosting the show. A lot of folks are up at the Seattle Hemp Fest this weekend. They've got their big speaker party here tonight. We have another interesting event that's happening in Salem tomorrow, the Oregon Cannabis Convention. I'll be there tomorrow. We'll talk more about that here in a minute. But we have a hemp news segment, lots of good videos to roll in, and our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Our first story tonight is from Bismarck, North Dakota. State officials on Monday affirmed that advocates in North Dakota have collected sufficient signatures to place an adult use marijuana initiative on this November's ballot. The voter-initiated measure, organized by the grassroots group Legalize North Dakota, seeks to legalize the possession, use, and sale of cannabis, as well as the possession of marijuana paraphernalia by those over the age 21. It also expunges past marijuana convictions. The proposed ballot language strikes cannabis-related offenses from North Dakota's criminal code and also caps any potential retail taxes on commercial sales of cannabis. Marijuana legalization is no longer a regional or partisan issue, and I expect North Dakota voters to send shockwaves across the country this fall when they join the growing contingent of states that have chosen the sensible path of legalization and regulation over prohibition and incarceration. In 2016, nearly two-thirds of state voters approved a ballot measure regulating medical cannabis access in North Dakota. However, state officials have yet to make the program operational, with regulators now aiming to have licensed dispensaries up and running by June of next year. Activists have acknowledged that regulators' failure to swiftly implement the 2016 measure was the impetus for the 2018 campaign. Voters in Michigan will also be deciding on an initiative to regulate the adult possession, use, and sale of marijuana this November, while voters in Utah and Missouri will decide on medical marijuana access measures. Our next story is from Santa Monica, California. The percentage of daily cannabis users who meet DSM-4, are the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, 4th edition, criteria for dependence has fallen significantly over the past decade and a half, according to data published in the journal Drug and Alcohol Dependence. Data compiled by a researcher at the RAND Corporation reports, quote, risk of dependence formation among heavy marijuana users appears to have declined since 2002 from roughly 1 in 4 to 1 in 6. The authors acknowledges that this decline coincides with a period of liberalized cannabis laws as well as an overall increase in adult marijuana use. The rates of dependence also fell sharply among past year marijuana users from 13.8% to 8.5% during this same period of time. The DSM-4 defines cannabis dependence as failing to keep limits set on one's cannabis use, reducing one's engagement in important activities, continuing the use of the substance despite ongoing emotional, physical, or emotional problems, spending an inordinate amount of time obtaining cannabis, and failing to reduce one's use despite intending to do so. Separate studies, such as those that we've reported in the past, have previously reported similar decreases in the rates of problematic cannabis use among teens. The full text of this study, Falling Rates of Marijuana Dependence Among Heavy Users, appears in Drug and Alcohol Dependence this month. Out of Bozeman, Montana, medical cannabis access programs are associated with year-over-year declines in fatal workplace accidents, according to data published online in print in the Journal of International Drug Policy. Investigators with Montana State University, Colorado State University, and American University in Washington, D.C. assessed the relationship between the enactment of medical cannabis laws and workplace accidents during the years 1992 to 2015. The researchers reported, quote, legalizing medical marijuana was associated with a 19.5% reduction in the expected number of workplace fatalities among workers aged 25 to 44. The association between legalizing medical marijuana and workplace fatalities among workers aged 22 to 44 grew stronger over time. 5 years after coming into effect, medical marijuana laws were associated with a 33.7% reduction in the expected number of workplace fatalities. Medical marijuana laws that listed pain as a qualifying condition or allowed collective cultivation were associated with larger reductions in fatalities among workers aged 25 to 44 than those that did not, end quote. The authors described the association as robust, suggesting that the relationship cannot be explained by slowly evolving but difficult to measure factors at the state level, such as attitudes or health behaviors, end quote. They concluded, quote, the current study is the first to explore the effects of medical marijuana laws on workplace fatalities. Our results suggest that legalizing medical marijuana leads to a reduction in workplace fatalities among workers aged 25 to 44. This reduction may be the result of workers substituting marijuana in place of alcohol and other substances that can impair cognitive function and motor skills, end quote. Separate studies evaluating the relationship between medical cannabis access and employment have reported that legalization is associated with lower rates of workplace absenteeism and with increased participation rates among older employees. Other studies have documented lower rates of both alcohol sales and opioid consumption following the enactment of marijuana legalization. This study, Medical Marijuana Laws and Workplace Fatalities in the United States, appears in the International Journal of Drug Policy. Out of Washington, D.C., the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws Political Action Committee has announced an endorsement of Portland's own United States Representative Earl Blumenauer, a Democrat from right here in Oregon, and Don Young, a Republican in Alaska, in their re-election campaigns. Blumenauer and Young serve as the lead co-chairs of the Cannabis Caucus in the House of Representatives. Representative Blumenauer has been supporting sensible marijuana law reform longer than anyone currently serving in the House of Representatives. He cast a vote in favor of decriminalization in Oregon in 1973 as a member of the state legislature and has been one of the leading champions for ending our failed prohibition on marijuana at the federal level since he was first elected to Congress. We support his re-election in 2018, and supporters of marijuana law reform couldn't ask for a better ally to have in this arena. Representative Don Young, a Republican from Alaska, has shown how truly bipartisan marijuana law reform efforts can be by his leadership and co-chair of the House Congressional Cannabis Caucus. The Congressional Cannabis Caucus was formed in 2017 to develop and promote sensible cannabis policy reform and work to ease the tension between federal and state cannabis laws. Next story tonight's from Santa Monica, California. The percentage of daily cannabis users who meet the DSM has fallen. Actually, you know, we've already done that story, so I'll jump forward to the next one. It's unfortunate, that one. And then we had a little technical glitch with our news this evening. But anyway, our last story tonight from Boston, Massachusetts. Same-day use of alcohol but not marijuana is predictive of dating abuse among young adults, according to data published in the journal Violence Against Women. Dating abuse is defined as physical, sexual, psychological, or emotional violence within a dating relationship, including stalking. The investigators from Boston University, the University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and the University of Texas at Galveston investigated same-day alcohol or marijuana use and dating abuse perpetration in a sample of 60 non-college attending young adults over a period of 3 months. The authors reported, quote, this study did not provide support for the hypothesis that marijuana is causally related to dating abuse perpetration, although there was a weak and positive association between marijuana use and increased relative odds of dating abuse perpetration on the same day. The results were not statistically significant. The idea that marijuana may not be causally related to the increased risk of partner aggression is consistent with the results of several other studies. The author said it, by contrast, quote, alcohol use in any time in the past 24 hours was associated with reports of dating abuse perpetration in that same 24-hour period of time. The paper's findings are consistent with other studies. In this study, alcohol, marijuana, and dating abuse perpetration by young adults, results of a daily call study, appears in this month's edition of Violence Against Women. That's the end of our hemp news segment for tonight. Mr. John Cornett is standing by, ready to play some songs, or a song.
Yes, sir. Just one for now.
Okay.
Anyways, it is good to be back. You know, I really hate to hear that there's so much effort going into trying to prove or associate cannabis with all these bad things in life. And we know it's good for us, don't we, folks? I do. This is a song that I've played here many times. I love it because we're in the age of disclosure, and this song is about just that. Now is the time. The time is now to tell the truth, to hear the truth, to know the truth. Passive lies and fantasies isn't how it has to be. And innocence throwing stones like so many brainless clones. Sound the alarm, educate. Sound the alarm, investigate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Corporations, governments are rarely ever innocent. Ascension is the only way, and lives another day. Sound the alarm, investigate. Sound the alarm, re-educate. Now is the time for the truth. Whoa, whoa. Now is the time. Whoa, whoa. Sound the alarm, time. Now is the time. Oh, oh. Now is the time.
Be joining me up here as our guest tonight as well. We are taking your phone calls. If you're watching us on the night of Friday, August 17th, 2018, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We have a new desk here, so it's a little bit different set for us here. But in over, what is it, 18 and a half years of doing this show, this is the first time they've brought out a new desk for us. So it looks pretty fancy. I'm not used to it though. Well, anyway, welcome, John.
What up, brother? Hang on a second.
You're getting your mic in place there.
It's upside down, or right side in, or out, or whatever.
Good job. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
I'm short. Is it just me?
It's the desk. It's the desk. It's a little. I'm used to being up a few inches above it too, but
I need one of those baby chair lifts, right? I'm up
yeah.
Or down. Hey, it's okay. I don't mind being down here.
Good.
In the dungeon.
Yeah, we're a little bit lower. We got a wooden forefront there instead of the
this
carpet.
is nice. It doesn't does not have any hard edges. Those things that bump you and give you bruises.
Yeah, that's always good.
Yeah, I like soft round edges.
Well, we'll get used to it, folks. And if you're out there and you have a question for us tonight, again, you can give us a call at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We have a studio audience here as well, and if you want to come down to the studio audience, we're live most Friday nights. We won't be here next Friday night, however. We're going to have a pre-recorded show. So we won't be here on, the 24th, but we will be here the weekend after that. I think it's the first weekend.
What's happening next week?
September.
Is it studio closure, or we're going to be somewhere?
I think it's either studio. I'm not absolutely certain, but I know that we're going to do. I think it might have to do with a camping trip by our producer and family, and their wedding. A wedding that's going to be happening. Come Monday.
I can't keep up with them. There's so many big get-togethers.
I know. Well, that's what happens in the summertime.
So how did Hempe do? That's right. You did tell me that they managed to clear a little bit of dough, so we were able to chip down that thing.
Yeah, they raised about $5,114, which
in a positive direction.
That's right. So we're now down to, instead of $35,000, about $30,000 in debt. So
I like it that the
it's good
community
to see it go down.
The community, for all intents and purposes, appears to want to help lift up the community by making sure that we're all responsible for paying our debts.
Yeah.
And since those of us who have been around the activist community for a long time, we know that it matters if you're actually actively doing something. Like participating in marches. Come over here, play music. Help, come. We talk about it. Really, for real. Anyway, there's all kinds of stuff to do, and there's a lot of us that do it. And man, I tell you what, we pulled together for this thing. A couple little bumps, but everything worked out okay. We did positive.
You did a couple of great sets opening the stage both days.
It was hot. I baked. I've been shading here for a long. We get a lot of shade over in Forest Grove.
Well, that's why they call it a Forest Grove.
Yeah.
Well, must be it.
So what else is new, brother? Anything good?
Well, I just got back from Mexico and went down to the Expo Weed in Mexico City. That was exciting to go down there again. It's always good to, to get invited down, and people want to take pictures and take you out to eat and give you things. We got to be judges of this Cannabis Cup as well.
Okay,
so
okay.
I got the samples too late though to really do effective judging. There was a little bit of sampling, but no real judging on my part.
What city is it in again?
Mexico City, which is
City.
a city of about 23 million people. It's the biggest city in North America and the second largest in the Western Hemisphere.
And we have some really good friends in Acapulco, and what's that place where Kevin lives, maybe? Well, yeah, Guatemala down there, and we've been invited to go down, all expense paid tour, seriously.
Well, you should do it.
Well, we have those concerns about all this stuff that we'd be leaving behind. We got pets and Mamma mia. We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of things to take care of. It's hard to leave town. Fortunately, I was able to get away I was only gone for 6 days.
We might
there for 5 nights.
We might find a house sitter, who knows.
Yeah,
something like that, and be able to go.
So this weekend, though, there's right now, the big Seattle Hemp Fest is going on. That's the biggest marijuana event in the United States. It'll be going on Saturday and Sunday as well, so it's not too late to go. But if you don't want to go all the way down to or up to Seattle, there's an event tomorrow and Sunday at the Oregon State Capitol. That's the Oregon Cannabis Convention. So I'll be down there right on the steps of the state capitol tomorrow at about 4 o'clock. And so I got a call from a fellow named Shane Limco and asked me to come down. I said, okay, I can do that. So, and in addition to that, so next week we don't have a TV show here, but I'm going to go to Salem, and there's a fellow, Edward Bigger, and Perry Strickland.
The guy with the coat.
Yeah, the guy with the coat, and who helps dispensary on the coast, with the coat on the coast.
Does he literally sit? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he twirls a sign out there on Highway 101.
All day, or
you'd have to ask him, but I think he does it quite a bit. I don't think he does it all day. But I see him around town too. Not him, but other people at other corners twirling these cannabis signs.
People are going to look. They're going to look.
Yeah. Well, he's got the cannabis clothes, so he stands out compared to a lot of these other folks. That's for sure. But we have several videos that we'd like to play for you tonight. Let me know when we have one of those queued, and we will go ahead and roll that. So
surprise video.
We're ready.
Okay, they're ready. So we're going to roll the video, and we'll be back in just a minute.
I want to tell you all a little bit about a plant I know that can save the world. It grows long and tall and has flowers that can make your mind swirl. It's a funky plant with a fiber that is resistant to rain and mold. It's the strongest plant fiber known to man, the best rope you'll ever hold. Well, the pioneers covered up the wagon trains with a canvas made of hemp. And Washington and Jefferson grew it on their farms and said to make the most of it. The first stars and stripes were sewn on hemp, the first Constitution too. This is around the world for food, fiber, oil, medicine, and fuel. And if we press its seeds, we won't have no need for any other oil. We can make paints and inks, or run our car, we'll go back next season. It'll fix the soil, the most nutritious seed we can put in our mouth with omega-6 and 3. We can feed the world with the tree of life and live sustainably. But if we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to breathe. Grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the God's plant grown wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La 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 la. Whoa, whoa.
Marijuana plant, they often call it dope, can also be made into oil or rope. Some people say you smoke it and you feel fantastic, but from hemp you can make an alternative to plastic. Made from plants, not petroleum, you see, so it won't still be around in 4003. It can biodegrade, which means there'll be less pollution. Just another reason for a hemp revolution.
best medicines on earth. Helps cancer and AIDS patients eat their food. Helps those with depression overcome the blues. Glaucoma, epilepsy, nausea, insomnia, stress, cirrhosis, psychosis, pain, PMS. All the studies have been done and all the doctors agree, but they can't make money off this plant, you see, because it's free. It grows from a seed, wild and free like we ought to be. You know the future is grown in our own backyards. And if we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to be. We'll grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the God's plan, going wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La 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 la. Whoa, whoa.
In the mid-1930s, it was the billion-dollar crop. With the invention of the quarter kid, they could produce it non-stop. But then a smear campaign with Mexicans to blame started making people thinking to make your brain go pop. Yeah, since then it's never stopped. It ain't like getting high for paint and crack rock. Time to bring it back to nature, time to bring back some life. Let the farmers do their job, stop giving them strife. Renewable resources, life-giving forces. Panels for your cars and saddles for your horses. DuPont, Monsanto, making the wrong choices. Suicide genes, extinguishing our voices. Cutting down the trees, polluting the 7 seas. Leaving the fate of the planet to the corporate entities. Corrupt politics, warfare, disease. Now it's time to make a change. It's time to plant seeds.
Purpose on nutritious, you the oil seeds. It gives you all the protein you will ever need. You can make it in a sandwich with jelly or jam, or make it in a soap or a lotion for your hands. You can make it into fuel, put it right in our cars, then we won't need the oil and won't have to start wars. You can make it into paper, right as much as you please, cause it grows like a weed and we won't have to cut trees. So put your faith in hemp, such a versatile plant, and don't let the government tell us we can't, cause hemp can help us all in so many ways, and it doesn't mean that we will all be living in a daze. Versatility, sustainability, look at history, it ain't no mystery, hemp for victory.
If we cut down all the trees, we won't have nowhere to be. We grow fields of hemp instead. We can make our paper, build a house from it. It's the God's plan, growing wild and free, living the way that we ought to be. Gonna leave my children a better world than my ancestors left me. Whoa, whoa. La 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 la. Whoa, whoa.
All right. Well, that is the Human Revolution with their song Tree of Life, one of my favorites. We put that together many years ago. We had our old company name up. You know, we have this banner turned around here because of a court order. An Israeli-Canadian oil company has come in and stolen our business, our clinic business, THCF Medical Clinics and Empower Healthcare, and we're locked in an epic court battle against this multi-million-dollar company. They've actually, in April, took my company public. They got control in a preliminary injunction, and now I am going to trial, just found out, on March 11th next year. At that point, it will have been 33 months since the court gave them control of my company. But we hope to get the company back and see justice done. Obviously, the judges didn't take care of us, so we're going to depend on a jury here in Multnomah County. If you'd like more information, then give us a call at that number there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. Also, we have doctors who can help you. Don't go to my old business, Empower Healthcare, because it's run by an Israeli-Canadian oil company that sold all of your records for $25 million to a bunch of different companies. So they've sold everyone's medical records, over 250,000 people's medical records that had come to see our clinic. And so hopefully we'll get justice and make them pay for what they've done. And for more, if you have any of these conditions, though, we have a physician referral service. Don't go to Empower Healthcare. Give us a call at 503-235-4606. We'll be happy to put you in touch with a clinic that's not run by George Soros's energy company, Adira Energy. Just give us a call, 503-235-4606. I know you were pretty upset. It's been 26 months since this takeover happened. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it has been. It's very unfortunate that it happened. It is very unfortunate that it happened at all.
They thought by impoverishing me and my crew and people in this studio that we wouldn't fight them. But we will never surrender to these dirty dogs.
You have been fighting your butt off for I don't know how long. I've been using your clinics for 12 years, the entirety of my licensing under the OMMP. God rest its weary soul. I don't know if it's still getting
There's about half as many patients now as there were 2 years ago. It's about half the size. As the government continues to make it harder and harder for growers to help patients.
Well, maybe the truth of it is that a lot of those patients didn't need nearly as much cannabis.
Maybe that's some of it. But I think a lot of it has to do with the increase in fees. For instance, not only do you have to pay a $200 patient fee, you have to pay a $200 grower fee. And
if you grow, right. You still have to do that anyway. Oh, you have to pay that in addition to
if you're growing for more than yourself, if there are more than 12 plants in your garden, then you have to pay $200.
Now, how about if you got 12 medical, like there's 2 OMMP patients, and then there's one like household bud?
I think that's okay. You're still under the 12 medical number.
So does it require that you have another resident in your home that is not medical? I don't want to.
No. You just you're limited. You don't have if you aren't growing at your home, you have to pay the $200. If you're not growing at your residence, you have to pay the $200 fee. If you're growing more than 12 medical plants, you have to pay the $200 fee. If you intend to be able to sell any to the dispensaries, you have to enroll in the metric system, which costs about $500 a year, and pay the $200 a month fee.
Every little turn.
And I can only grow 48 plants in a rural location for my medical garden.
That would be one grow site, right?
Yeah. Okay. You can't grow more than 12 in the city or more than 48 plants.
You got to track everything.
Yes.
Every plant has to be associated with a patient.
And these new RFD tags that are all computer. If you're into the metric. Yeah, I guess so. And I actually did have an investigator come out.
Don't do it, 5D.
Hey, we have somebody at the microphone here in the studio ready to ask a question. Go right ahead, Judy.
Yeah, questions, and if you don't mind, a little comment about your legal case, because I looked into this a little bit, and it's an absolute travesty. I think it's a crime against God, in my opinion. But more concretely, I don't like to think, and I don't think of my Oregon government as my enemy, and yet what's been happening in Salem and some of these other events, it makes it feel a lot like that. And with regards to your case, the judge that still is presiding over your case, Judge Judith Matarazzo, I have no respect for, and I have good reasons, factual reasons.
Well, it's bizarre because the district attorney here in Multnomah County said that Judge Matarazzo is corrupt, and that never happens. But it was covered in the Oregonian about 14 months ago. That the judge who gave away my company for nothing, and
she's been
corrupt.
In the news,
and I knew that. But she's
there has been some news,
television and the local newspaper.
There was a point in time, I think it was last year or so, that I had read that Rod Underhill also had directed his office that no cases of a certain type should be tried before her because of the problem of her prejudice. I personally, had wanted to write to our own attorneys general about it, but John and I have certainly had a lot on our plate. with regards to the state and these fees, we're pretty happy with our representation. We have State Senator Chuck Riley and Congresswoman Susan McLean, and these are people that very much care about us medical patients, and they care about people first.
And they're your representatives in Forest Grove.
But a lot of these fees and a lot of what's been done, number one, starts with decisions that they made and laws that they passed that were really bad choices, and then the agencies now piling on these restrictions and fees. It is outrageous, the people that are suffering. I mean, it's unbelievable how patients have been restricted. And this was supposed to leave the medical program intact. Mostly a bunch of poor people, a lot of disabled people, a lot of vets.
So unfair.
It's just so inappropriate.
Unfair.
But anyway, the news. I wanted to ask you about the news because I thought I was very excited about the good news that was in the news. And it was so interesting about, a lot of people that aren't knowledgeable about cannabis and how it affects the body and the mind, might be surprised at studies like the one that was about the comparison of alcohol and marijuana with dating violence. Mm-hmm. So there's no surprise there, but it's great to see these studies coming out.
Yeah.
But the other thing,
we all knew that was the case, but it's good to see it scientifically validated.
The other thing that was especially interesting to me, and it kind of was buried in all of the facts about the news story in California. I believe it was California, and in the study of how cannabis dependency had gone down.
Yeah.
But within that story, if I'm not mistaken, they talked about access. All of this is about access. Where there's good access, patients do well, people do well, lives improve, addiction to whatever goes down. And in their case, they specifically mentioned the taxes were reduced from 13-point-something% to 8-point-something%. They reduced the taxes. They reduced what the state was taking out of it to make it more available for people. It's simple, guys. It's so simple. It's what we need. It's natural to us. Our bodies crave it. Nothing else suffices. So you make it available, you got healthier people. Yeah. And I would love to hear anything that you have to say about either one of those two things, and the kinds of stories, the kinds of studies, and amazing things that are going on across the country in terms of, things that people are going to be voting on and the states they're going to be doing it. So surprising.
Yeah. We're getting more and more studies coming out. It's hard to keep up with all the science, actually. We try to report it each week here on the show, but there were a couple of good ones. The one about dating violence going down with marijuana use. Awesome. Of course, we knew that was the case, obviously.
Yeah, you mellow out. You're not
Alcohol,
so anxious, I think.
It's the opposite. Huh?
You mellow out. You're not so anxious, maybe.
Yeah.
I've got some good street-level news, and I think I've reported on it before, and it's relative to my treatment, my personal treatment. I'm being treated at OHSU neurology because I have what's called tonic-clonic seizures. I'm full on epileptic now, and I have not had a seizure since January, which is a freaking miracle. Thank you, universe. Thank you, cannabis. And there's some small attribution. They should go to the pharmacological people because I am taking a half of the recommended doses of pharmacological.
A prescription drug.
It's called oxcarbazepine if you want to go look it up. Anyhow, the good news to me is like another small miracle is that at OHSU in the neurology department, I have my doctor whose name I will withhold, who is actually prescribing cannabis or CBD, and as a matter of fact, the oxcarbazepine, which is a pharmaceutical, is an adjunctive to my cannabis use, my CBD use.
So you're using the cannabis along with the pharmaceutical drug for your epilepsy.
Yeah, I told him that I use about 1/5 of a gram a day in 2 doses in the morning and the evening.
And when you say 1/5 of a gram, you don't mean flour, but you mean of extract
I'm talking about
oil.
Extract, pure, unadulterated.
And you're taking that orally.
Extract. Yes, sir.
So you're eating it and swallowing.
Yeah, it has a nice thick consistency, so that if you want to just stick it on a I would recommend maybe a cracker or a piece of toast or something like that. That way, it can go down pretty smooth. But you know, if you want it to absorb quick and get a real quick and even more of an effect, more intense concentration, I think, in the blood, then you want to do it sublingually or with suppositories. And when I had the suppositories, I used to use them, believe me, because I also had a problem with the pharmaceuticals throwing it up. It's horrible. It's a real hellacious thing if you ever have to do it. But I'd rather do that than have a seizure for the sake of Judy and those who know me.
Yeah.
I need to be around here to take care of business.
Yeah, we
So,
need you around. Thank you for coming in
You're
tonight.
welcome,
too.
brother. But yeah, that's my big dilemma. But it's such a great thing that I get to work now with a major hospital, teaching hospital, and I even got them. I told them, look, do not. For me personally, this is a personal thing. I don't want marijuana on my medical records. This is a personal thing because I don't grow marijuana. I grow cannabis. I grow cannabis, indica, and sativas, and some are hybrids. But I do not grow marijuana. I don't even know what they're talking about, except I hear there's this illegal drug called marijuana, and I think it's bogus because I think I think it's in the same family as cannabis, you see. But see, cannabis isn't illegal. And I mean this. Cannabis is not illegal. Marijuana is, and this is the way the state thinks. This is the way these.
Well, the weird thing is they claim that the leaves and the flowers and the sterols and the viable seeds of cannabis are marijuana, but the sterile seeds and the stems are not marijuana. That's industrial hemp.
Who inserted that?
That's the federal government.
Amendment. Okay,
That
so they
was
had
the
just
federal
amended
government.
So, did anybody happen to mention the
I
back?
don't know how you can grow sterile seeds and stems without growing the leaves and the flowers. But
Did anybody happen to mention that back in biblical times that cannabis was known as cannabosum, Kanehbosm, and it was used in holy anointing oil along with a lot of other.
they didn't put that into the federal law. No, they didn't.
No,
mention
but
it.
the fact that's the
But
fact.
it's true. It's true.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
that's
main
how-
ingredient in
Heck
the
yeah.
holy anointing oil mentioned in the Talmud and the Bible that
250
Christ means
250
anointed
shekels,
one,
yeah, yes.
and that means using cannabis oil.
Yeah, and you're healed. You're healed.
Yeah. We have had a lot of doctors,
Seriously.
about 40 doctors that have worked with us in the clinics that I started, and we have a video of one of them, and we'll be back right after this video. You want to talk about the breadth of different patients and the type of patients you see in this? I know you had practiced as a cardiac surgeon for about 40 years, so you'd see people who needed a heart transplant, or I know in one case we were seeing patients in Spokane, and a fellow said you had taken a bullet out of his heart about 10 years before that. So, but in this case, you're seeing patients that are different from the typical cardiac patient.
No question that to have your hand inside a chest around a beating heart is an extraordinary experience. And I think it was one of these experiences that kind of lit the fire, if you will, for me, and for the future of the use of something like cannabis. I wonder if I could just say a few words, Paul, about one of the things that rises to the surface,
Please.
especially when we see people in the clinics. We are seeing many, many people who are coming in with problems associated with pain. And this is a very important subject that needs to be discussed in the medical field as well as the cannabis field. People who become overusers of narcotics and opiates are frequently seen in our clinics, and it's in large part because of the inappropriate giving of narcotics to patients by physicians. And we see this constantly. And here we have this incredible medication, which can be used properly, can be very helpful in getting people off of the use of narcotics and opiates. And this is one area that we work diligently on.
Yeah, I've seen the vast majority of patients that come through with chronic pain issues who have been addicted by their physicians to these things, from OxyContin to morphine to many forms of synthetic narcotics. I would say about 80% of them completely get off of those narcotics by the time they come in for their renewal the next year.
That's cool.
That's accurate.
And maybe 10% have dramatically reduced it, and the other maybe 5%, 5 to 10% have continued it. But cannabis has been used by literally hundreds of thousands of people to help quit their addiction. In fact, you know, we show these medicinal bottles on our TV show all the time, and one of the things that it says on the bottles is it's for the habituates of opiates, chloroform, cocaine, alcoholics with delirium tremens, to help them get off all of those drugs. So it's been acknowledged as an aid in that for many, many years.
And even nicotine.
Yeah, nicotine.
We've got off of nicotine.
Frequently, you can attach yourself to something that moves you beyond the average. And I think being a part of medicine enabled me to do this. First of all, with the thing I loved so much was taking care of human hearts. And then when that time slided away, I could come in and continue to work with humans and their hearts, but in a different way, by advising them about how they can take care of their bodies, how they can avoid taking and eating the wrong things and the wrong medications. And I think I've been able, second coming, if you will.
Okay, so that was from 2013, an old clip when we didn't have to have our banner turned around here. Well, by court order, we are commanded that we cannot say that we are THCF, even though I am the president of THCF, an Oregon nonprofit corporation. Can't claim to be affiliated with it. I don't understand that. But as I said before, the trial's coming up on March 11th of next year.
Do they still own your name?
They claim they do. They claim they own Paul Stanford
how does that
everything
work?
I've done in my life.
Oh, okay. So under the scope of your name in all capital letters.
Well, in all letters.
That's the way it noticed in legalese. It's always in capital. That's how they pretty much capture us into this bond or contract that we don't really have to make with them as a sovereign citizen of the United States of America, Republic of the United States of America. Excuse me. That's where I live. I don't know about you guys.
Yep, we're mainly watching the United States. So some people are watching us around the world on Facebook, and tomorrow it'll be up on YouTube. So maybe that'll be there as well. Again, if you need help finding a doctor, do not go to my old clinic. If you want to find out more about this legal case, or you're looking for a referral to a doctor who can help you, give us a call at that number there on your screen. It's 503-235-4606. It's 503-235-4606. So you have been away for a little while, but you're fighting a lot of chronic pain, I know.
Oh yeah.
And
you
so
don't want to hear. I might have a minute. If you give me 30 seconds, I could probably break it down real quick.
Go ahead.
Well, I just had a rock removed from my pancreas, which was adding to everything else, and then we got that out. It took about 7 months to find out, so I was literally down for a long time with that, and now I have this. It's a IVC filter that was used to stop blood clots from coming up my legs, way before I was using cannabis or anything else. But anyway, I had these horrible blood clots, and they nearly killed me. My pulmonary specialist said, you shouldn't be alive right now. But anyway, they put this filter in me. It's supposed to be long-term all my life, but now it has eroded my lower vena cava vein, and it is poking into my L3 spine bone. And it right now, my pain level is not too bad right now because I took more than a fair share of cannabis since I'm not driving tonight. as
Well,
I
with
said,
your epilepsy, you haven't been driving really at all for a
absolutely
while.
none.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I respect the state and the people because I'm not an idiot. I would never even think about getting
Yeah.
behind the wheel of a car until my neurologist has certified me as being safe. And Judy's keeping impeccable records about my day-to-day, so we have a record of everything. He needs to see it, and
Good.
you know, we tell all, and it can be miserable to bad. But you know, most of the time I manage to get up to about okay, and with the help of my partner and being able to work at my leisure, that's an awesome thing. You know, we're both retired. I'm 63, and my wife is beep. And we, you know, are fortunate to be retired on very, very little. And we grow our own because we can't afford to have somebody else grow for us, straight up, and have to worry about whether or not they're going to keep their stuff clean and give us our medicine. Because I hope and pray there aren't any problems with that still. It would be a shame if there were. If there were.
Well, you got your plants growing.
Yes,
so,
sir. And they're big,
so you're
big,
okay.
big.
I know I gave you
I
some of the
should've took some
cuttings way
pictures.
back when.
Yes, you gave me all of them. Well, no, except my CBDs, and
Yeah.
I'm supposed to share some clippings of those. I have
Okay.
4 CBD OG, and I have 2 Teslas.
Mm-hmm.
And the CBD OGs, man, they're just whoa,
They're big, huh?
They're big, and they're starting to flower now. Starting to see peaks. And
All right.
little
Well, I'd be
things
interested to see
coming
what
out.
those test out as once you're able to do that.
Yeah, I need to do that.
Well, we're down to about 4.5 minutes left here. So I know you got to move over and play some music here in just a
Yeah, I
second.
gotta
You'll be
figure out
taking
what.
us out with another song. But maybe we
Get it out.
can roll another video. Do we have a video ready?
Okay.
Okay, we'll be
Go
right
for
back
it.
after this video.
The psychiatry that I used to know does not exist anymore, which is talk therapy. And it's all pill pushing. It's all medication. And to that end, we really don't know what is happening, and this extends not just to psychotropics, but I'm going to read you a short letter to John A. Kitzhaber, MD, Director, Center for Evidence-Based Policy, Oregon Health and Science University. And this is who I suggest if you want to contact to embarrass a little bit. On February 25th, I happened to view a panel presentation by your organization on C-SPAN on the cost-benefit study of different pharmaceuticals contracted by AARP. The sum total of that panel was they could not develop any cost-benefits analyses because in analyzing the pharmaceutical literature, they discovered it was all promotional rather than objective and scientific. So everything masquerading as science is not. So based upon California clinical experience with a range of chronic conditions, our findings indicate a significant advantage over other pharmaceuticals conventionally utilized because of improved quality of life and fewer adverse effects. Consequently, we request the opportunity to discuss our findings with you. Attached is a list of conditions. And guess what the response was? So I'm glad this is going over cable TV in the Portland area, and hopefully somebody out there in the viewing audience can give the center a call and ask them to include cannabis in their studies, and especially about the mental health issue. I would.
Well, that is Dr. Todd Micarea. He was the very first medical marijuana doctor, a psychiatrist out of Berkeley. He was behind Prop 215, which passed in California in 2015. He taught us about monomolecular medical madness, is what he called it, or mercantile madness, talking about the pharmaceutical industry as monomolecular mercantile madness. And anyway, we are about out of time. We're going to go out with another great song by John Cornette. If you have any issues that you need to find a doctor who can help you with medical marijuana, any of these conditions, we have a referral service. Give us a call at 503-235-4606. I want to thank you guys for watching. We're going to have a tape show next week on the 24th, but we'll be back the following week, the 1st of September, with another live show. So stay tuned. And again, there's the Seattle Hemp Fest this weekend and the Oregon Cannabis Convention at the state capitol as well. So I'll be down at the Oregon Cannabis Convention in Salem tomorrow, 4 o'clock. Thank you, John. Thank you, viewers. Help us restore hemp. Good night.
You know I smoked a lot of grass. Oh Lord, pop 1 or 2 pills too. But I've never seen nothing